however this works.
Yeah, okay.
So who am I is an exploration of who we are, and who we think we are may be quite different from the truth. Now this presentation, I need to do here, there. This presentation is based on many years of studying with different teachers of different traditions and teachings as well. So it's from studies and direct contact and practice with Vedic, which is to say the Hindi teachings, Buddhism of the different branches, Japanese, Chinese, and Tibetan, Christian traditions from the Old and New Testament, as well as from modern sources, including A Course in Miracles, Tao wisdom, and Sufi teachings, as well as others. Just to give an outline to begin with, this is showing what we think we are as human beings, but comparing that as an expression of an underlying, unnameable, undescribable self. So as humans, we have components like the physical, the mental, and an absence of both in an environment which includes 3 daily states, and also which is time-bound, which means constantly changing. And then I look at what the masters say on the self. What are the implications of such a self and how to realize it? And there is some great motivation to doing this because the self does not suffer, is not vulnerable to dying. So it really solves all the problems we experience as normal human beings. The motivation, furthermore, is that the presentation is about you. It's not something to think about. You are the laboratory. You can test, check, and discover everything that's said here. And your own direct experience is what counts, not just a conceptual understanding. So most of us think of ourselves as mind-body complexes. Now, the problems about that is what is physical is finite. It's bound in space and finite in time. And what we think of as our mind is acquired from external sources. It's not sort of originally ours. It's all taken in from outside. So parents, teachers, environment. And then this body, mind-body, disappears completely during deep sleep. So what happens? So who was present at my beginning? What was there for the mind to begin learning in the first place? And does this who have a limited existence? Is it going to end with a death? Did it start with a birth? And what happens to me during deep sleep, when I'm not conscious of mind or body? So if there is such an essential who or me, how can it be realized? And what are its implications? Firstly, as a physical body, we only identify it with it from what we have been told and from the name it was given from outside, and then from what the body's physical senses confirm about it and about it being separate from other bodies. And yet, my awareness doesn't suffer if some body parts are lost or paralyzed. The awareness is still there. And the awareness is not affected by deep sleep. Well, it doesn't disappear in deep sleep, but we'll get on to that. Secondly, we have a mind, which is also known as a subtle body. The mind receives the physical senses, it discriminates, it develops a personality and ego. As infants, we develop likes and dislikes and things we want and things we don't want. And so the mind also decides about what we will do with our body, with our voices, with our thoughts. So the mind is still present in dreams. It's watching them and actually projecting them, but absent in deep sleep. Finally, after the physical and mental bodies, there is a body called the causal body, also known as the seed body, which is an emptiness where we have surrendered our personality, our mind, our senses, and we encounter this when we're going into sleep or when we're in meditation, in the state of dhyana. Now, this is very close to what one would think would be an essential body. But the interesting thing is this body is still witnessed. There's something aware of this state. It's a state, and it's called a seed body because it's where our desires have almost disappeared, but they're still subtly there. And it's from those desires that the body and the mind can emerge again. So it hasn't disappeared. And it is being watched by this knower or witness. Now, as far as environment is concerned, each day we go through 3 states. We have the waking mind, which is where the senses are directed outwards. We have a dreaming mind, in which we have, you could call them inner senses, where we're watching the dream, and we might have other sensory experiences in the dream. But then when we're in deep dreamless sleep, there is no mind. So who is still there? Because if there's no who, then that means we die every time we go into deep dreamless sleep and come alive again or reborn when we come out of it. Mm-hmm. And the other environment that we find ourselves in is that of time and, well, the dimensions of time and space, which is a place of beginnings and endings. So everything that is in the physical realm, which is time and space, is subject to activity and change. The body has boundaries. We can feel the edge of them. It also has a beginning and ending. And the mind is pretty much tied to the body in terms of beginning and ending as well. So is who I am in time and space the essential who? Does it have a beginning and ending? Does it have limitations at all? So if I am the subject rather than the object, I must be whatever that innermost me is at source. Now, I observe my body, I sense it. So who is this I that's doing that? I also watch my thoughts. We witness them. Something or someone is aware of the body, the mind, the external world, and even aware of the dreams. But where is this I during deep sleep when there are no objects whatsoever? No mind, no body, no senses, no perceptions. So the masters of different traditions have given us clues. This essential I is not limited to the mind or body, but includes them. Is not bound by time and space, but contains these. Is in a state of oneness. So while it witnesses mind and everything physical, it is also one with them. It is also unchanging and eternal. So now further examples of this would be one teacher who finishes some of his talks with the words, "Have a happy stay on earth." So this means he knows our time on earth is more like a visit, and he's speaking from somewhere not here. He's established in somewhere that is not bound by time and space as we are in the earth. Another master was told, what will happen to all this, your ashram, when you're not here? And the master replied, I'm not here now. And a further master, when his body was dying, was begged by a disciple, don't leave us. And the master said, where can I go? So in all these cases, we have enlightened individuals, beings telling us they're already established in a presence that is free from time and space. So what that suggests is that such a self is not born and does not die. So that sort of witness, knower, awareness is more likely to have created what we think of ourselves as being, rather than that the birth of a person creates the awareness. And when we look at newborn infants, they are already aware before they've learned anything whatsoever. They don't know their names. They don't even know they have bodies. In fact, they're quite amazed to find their hands and fingers moving and toes, and realize they can make them move. They also talk of themselves, a lot of them, when they're very, very young, they speak of themselves in the third person. They'll say their name as if it's somebody else that they're speaking about. So they know their awareness that isn't identified with the name and the form. Such awareness is timeless and unchanging. So when we are watching these words and hearing these words as well, from that awareness, and that is the same awareness that we had as infants. It's a constant awareness outside of time. So we could call it stillness, beingness, silence, a sense of existence. And when we're aware of any of whatever we want to call it that speaks to us, that kind of direct experience tells us of an unchanging presence we have, and one we often will encounter in meditation. So when we look at the dimensions of time and space of this world relative to the awareness, we could think of it almost in this diagrammatic sense, where we have the world at the top, manifested reality. And we have our physical senses receiving from the external world, passing the information to the mind, the intellect making decisions about that information, and then our personality, our ego, deciding what to do about it, what to say or how to act back out into the external world. The truth is that we are really projecting our experience of the world through our thoughts and beliefs, and we're receiving it back. So in effect, what the masters say is that the world is something of a mirror, which is reflecting ourselves back to us. So the qualities of such awareness, and here I've just shown the diagram is just the yellow awareness without any of the cloud of dimensions and things. It's pure awareness. So it's an intelligence alive to itself that witnesses everything, but cannot itself be witnessed by anything. So the mind cannot see awareness. You can be aware of awareness, but you can't see it or sense it, and certainly not discover it through the mind. It is eternal, formless, unchanging. So the implications of awareness as reality means that what we think of as the waking state is at best a relative reality. And when we wake up in the morning and re-engage the mind, we are entering this relative reality or a waking dream world. The mind, via the senses, will only recognize forms, names, what is changing, and within time and space. So while awareness is formless, nameless, invisible, changeless, and cannot be perceived by the physical senses. So anything that changes is in that relative reality. And what never changes is absolute reality. So if that is our essential self, that awareness, it was never born and can never die. So how is that for motivation for getting established in there? No suffering, no dying. And the peace that one discovers in deep dreamless sleep. So deep dreamless sleep could be thought of as awareness with no objects to see or sense. So the other thing about awareness is, or the good news, is that it's already present. It was present before birth, it will be present after death, and it's present through the three states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So the awareness is there in deep sleep, but we don't notice it because we live in the minds, we're habituated. And whereas if we lived in awareness, it's more likely we could also have that awareness present, but it wouldn't be present, it wouldn't be aware of anything else. It would just be aware of itself, which people can attain in meditation and be quite clear about it. So, but to realize this, we need to give up the mind's mistaken assumptions. And it also means sort of stepping back from who we think we are as a personality. It would mean being formless without limitations or boundaries. And also that there's no duality, being oneness. So there's no longer a cause and effect or a subject and an object. So a good way to think about that is if you think of yourself as cause and your reflection in a mirror as effect, the instant you move, your reflection will also move in the mirror. It's an instant cause and effect. And in fact, our beliefs do that to our experience of the world all the time. Only we don't think so. We think it's the other way around. So the other part is being oneness. It's not a personal awareness. It's not my awareness or your awareness, but the awareness. It's everyone's awareness. So it's the life force. The awareness, we might think of it or it might speak to us more in different names. It could be beingness, it could be silence, stillness, presence, peace, love, or simply reality. But whatever it is, those terms are meant in the sense of the underlying foundation of everything that exists. The ways to realize this is we have to question the assumptions we have made about ourselves and about reality and almost turn them upside down. Practice of meditation helps. Moving our focus from almost totally outwards to more internally to the source is critical. Being present when transiting from sleep to waking. Usually there's a brief transit period, a gap between the sleep of no mind and the mind engaging after we wake. And in that gap, there's an opportunity to catch awareness and to extend our familiarity with it and its presence with us. And just being curious about what is unchanging through our three states, this constant awareness that is always there beyond the mind, sort of, it's what the mind is sort of feeding, but we don't even notice it, usually. So the good news, it's already what we are. It's just realizing what is present. It's not somewhere we have to attain. That's why Buddhism speaks of it as the pathless path. And A Course in Miracles uses the term journey without distance. So being established in awareness does not mean losing our minds and bodies while they're around. We can still enjoy them, and they still are very helpful for survival while they're here and making things work and serving others. But the mind no longer controls, the ego no longer controls. It's more, we're in a state of enjoyment. And suffering is is mental or physical. And when we realize who we are is really neither of those, we are virtually free of suffering when we're established outside of them as our primary identity. And that also means we're established in a state of great peace. So what I've covered here is the first two sections of this book, Who Am I? The book itself has a further section on being who we are. It has notes on the sources, more detail than I've given here, notes on the sources of the information here, and excerpts from teachers and wisdom traditions that support the message here. So the book is available from Amazon as an ebook or a paper one. It's also free for reading on scribd.com. So I'm open to questions and comments. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Yes.